Somebody once said we fall down, but we get up. But you know what? We don't always get up. Sometimes we stay there. Sometimes we lay there. Sometimes we don't move. They call them mistakes. They call them the bottom of the barrel. They call them hitting the bottom. They call it sin. But you know what? We actually can live free from sin. Who wants to talk about sin? Nobody wants to talk about sin. But when I talk about it, I talk about it like nobody else talks about it. Stay with me. I'm going to talk about some things with you. Let's get up.
You can do it. Don't stop. Ed Montgomery. Come on. A new way of thinking. Transform your mind. Straight from the vine. Fresh new wine.
Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery. Welcome to Fresh New Wine. Fresh New Wine is about the grapes, the crushing of the grapes, even when the grapes don't look so good. But sometimes when they don't look so good and the wine presses, or the press presses it into wine, sometimes it's your best vintage when things don't turn out exactly the way you want. We're going to talk about that thing right now, about our lives. I'm Ed Montgomery, and welcome not only to Fresh New Wine, I'm your host, but I'm also the host of Sensational Sunday that you find on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And you'll find other things that we do on Instagram, different places. And thank you so much for being with us and join us. And hit that like button right where you are right now. Hit it because it pushes the algorithms and it lets people know where we are, because if you don't have any algorithms at the beginning, they don't, want to push you later on down the line. So hit that like button now, because you're going to like this. One of the things that I have learned, and that is, people say when we fall down, we get up, and it's very encouraging. But if there are people who are being very honest, people who fall down, maybe not a lot, but when you fall down at the wrong time, when you fall down and you sometimes make the biggest mistakes of your life, and you find yourself even getting older, and an opportunity that's been missed, a time when you thought it was your time and you were going to make it, and time now seems to pass you by. And you're being told that you're too old. You're being told that you've lost it. You're being told that what everybody wants from the world out there, you can't give it because you ain't got it. So we find ourselves in situations where you just don't want to get up. I was walking my dog. My dog has already gone to heaven. She went to heaven just, about a year or so ago, and I miss my dog. She was a Chihuahua, but one day I was walking down the street and I was just humming something, wasn't paying attention, just looking around, wasn't even thinking about anything. My foot hit a curb. I stumbled, twisted my ankle a little bit, and I fell into the bushes. Well, while I was there, and I was just on the ground in the bushes. And so the dog kept walking for a little while, but then after a while, I just laid there. And I was trying to feel my legs to see if I had broken anything. And, well, ankle was all right. I felt pretty good, but I just laid there. And after a while, my dog just came on back, and she sat right down there by my head and just sat down while I was laying there. So she was going to sit there as long as I was laying there. As a matter of fact, I think that's what God does. We're always expecting God, well, God will pick you up when you fall down. Well, no. Sometimes God will just, if you're going to lay there, sometimes God will just sit down and just lay there right there with you. That's what he says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So God will lay there with you. But getting up and starting all over again and leaving the places where we messed up is actually very simple, but yet at the same time, sometimes very difficult. But it takes a certain way of thinking. And I firmly believe that some of the ways that we have been taught in church, the way religion has taught us, has in a sense messed us up. And that's one of the reasons for fresh new wine. Fresh new wine is about, you can't put new thinking into old structures because it'll mess up the structures. You've got to have some new structures to talk about new things and new ways of thinking. I firmly believe in the generation that we're in, maybe friends, maybe we may need to sit down and restructure some of the ways, some of the, I don't want to call them theologies or doctrines in church, but some of the teachings that we've done for a long time, and just restructure them and change them and said, you know what? This is not the way it is, because really it's not. Let me give you an example. There are people who, they talk about Christianity, and I've heard people say, well, I'm not a Christian because Christianity is the white man's religion. Have you heard that? We've all heard it. But Jesus was not white, and Jesus was not a Christian. And Christianity didn't even come into play until about 2,000 years ago. And then there was what they call the church, which was the Catholic Church in the beginning. And the church was really not that popular for the first 100 or 200 years. And Christianity went in a lot of different directions, a lot of ways of thinking, a lot of ways of teaching. But Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus was Jewish. What we call Christianity is Jesus teaching some off-the-chain things that were not taught in Judaism. So when I say some things need to be changed, or we need to rethink some things, we have people out there right now who says, well, no, we designed Christianity this way. Christianity came out of Europe because that's where the Reformation of the church took place. In other words, the church was reformed, or the Protestants or protesters protested what was then what was called the real church, or the Catholic Church, or the one universal church. And the Protestants, Martin Luther, they protested. And then they said, this is the way the gospel is supposed to be presented. And then they took that. And then they became Puritans, and on into Europe and into England. And then they shipped it over on the Mayflower, that raggedy boat called the Mayflower, that vomitorium that people got over here and didn't even live for the entire winter. But anyway, they got over here and brought that concept of religion and said, this is true religion. That's why people would call it the white man's religion. But the concepts or the principles of Christianity Incorporated, that's the business aspect of it. That's what took place that we see in the Constantine in the year 325 CE. Constantine and the bishops and all those different things. That was then. But the principle of Christianity was long before Christ. And I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show you exactly how we can change our thinking, and then we can change while we laying down, and change how we can have the power to get back up. But before I go on, let me say thank you to all of you who have used our text to give. Look, you have no idea how this has helped. Take a moment, because it gives us our voice, the ability. We got the equipment, we got the look, it looks good, but we need the voice. We need to improve our algorithms and all those kind of things. When you give, it helps us to be able to do it. Take a moment. Look, this is my birthday month. This is February. But you can take a moment and you can come up. I call $9. 9 is a good number. You can do $9 even. 9 is about structure. 9 is about foundation. 9 is about the ability to have something strong that when you build something on top of it, it's going to stand. So if you take a moment, $9, or if you don't have $9, it might make it $5 or $4, whatever you do. We're grateful for it because that gratitude is what keeps us going. So you can do it 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. That's text to give. Just text the amount in the line, where the text goes, and text that to that number, and you're immediately there. And if you want to be a part of us, you can, that text to give, if it's your first gift, hey, that will make you part of our great big family. Now, let me get back. I wanted to entitle this about how to live free from sin. In other words, but I probably wouldn't get any clicks at all because nobody wants to talk about sin. And least of all, me. If you were to ask me, sin, is it horrible? Is it terrible? I would say, actually, sin, the way we think of it, the way most people think of it, actually feels good. Well, they drunk too much, that's sin. Well, they had too much sex, that's sin. They going out with different men and different women, that's sin. And they smoked a cigar in the cigar bar, and that's sin. And some people say, no, that's sin, and no, that's just having a lot of fun. Some people say, well, gambling is sin. Las Vegas said it's not. Some people say that making laws that make it bad for people is sin. But you got a lot of senators on various sides of politics, and probably even in the White House, that says no, having the power is not sin. You as long as you got the power, that's not sin. And so they go on and do what they want to do because they're not worried about sin. See, can I be real with you? It is the people with the power that makes the rules. Let me say it again, a different way. It is the people with the power that creates whether it is sin or whether it is not. Just look at what's happening in government. You can have a group of people who promote family values, but as long as people don't throw me in jail, I didn't do anything wrong. Because if you have the power, you can overcome what we call you drunk too much, or you smoke too much, or you messed with other people, or you touched places you wasn't supposed to touch. These is what we call sins. They are what we call sins. But I think if they keep you focused, and especially in church, to tell you, you're a sinner. You're a sinner. You sinned this, you did that. So you keep coming to church every week so we can get you free from sin. So if we can get you free from sin, then we can get you into heaven. I submit to you. I lay out as a banquet. I lay it on the table, a feast for you to pick it out and look at it and pick out what you want to eat. I got something good for you right here. And here it is. It's right here on the table. That you can go the rest of your life trying to live free from sin and to finally have a good day where you did not sin. And you'll say, I hope God, if God gonna take me today, because today I live a decent life. I promise you, you can live free from sin, but not the sin that they are talking about. Here is where we got to learn how to shift our definitions. I believe that it's time for some of us in church, in leadership, to begin to change the definitions of some things because they have changed the definition on us. That's why you called it the white man's religion, because they define it, or that system defines it based on their concept of what we would call white supremacy. In other words, that's how they look at it. Now, they may feel we're the most supreme people in the world. Somebody else may say we're the most supreme people in the world. And so we got the true religion. No, we got the true religion. That's all over everywhere. So what we have to do is begin to make a decision. What is it? What's the definition of things? Now, here is the real definition of sin. The definition of sin is to miss the mark. Now, many of you have heard me say that for years. Sin means to miss the mark. In other words, to shoot an arrow. That's the original Greek definition of it. To shoot an arrow at a bullseye and the arrow misses the bullseye. That's called sin. To aim at one thing and to miss it. That's called sin. What? It has nothing, they don't seem to me, well, what happened to the adultery? Well, we talk about all that if you want. What happened to the fornication? What happened to the thieves? What happened to the folks who are not into the kingdom of God? Because they're sinners. They didn't correct the sin. Who makes the decision of sin? Okay, we see the list of it in the Bible. But do you know how to read Romans chapter 4, Romans chapter 5? Start reading Romans chapter 3, 4, and 5. You'll start running into scriptures that say things like this. Where there is no law, there is no sin. Remove the law, and you have not known sin. That's what it says. This is the writer, Apostle Paul. Had we not known law or the rules, we would not know sin. That's what you got going on in politics. They're changing the laws so they can change how they respond to the messed up ways the laws are written. So what they do is they remove the laws, and then they can remove the sin. They can decide what is sinful and what is not. And then they can say to the people, this is a sin, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is right, this is right, this is right. And power is the one who has the ability to decide what the law is. So now let's look at this sin again. If sin misses the mark, mistake. What is sin? Sin is a mistake. Mistake. In other words, you take the wrong road. In other words, you were going down a particular road, and when you go down a particular road and you change and you get off on the wrong section of it, you made a mistake. Sin is not having purpose or direction in your life. A sin is when you're going along and working on your purposes in life, working on what you're called to do, working on what you can be, and you get sidetracked, then you've taken a misroad, a misplace, a mistake. And when you get on another road from your main road, you lose the effectiveness of your direction and you never get to your goal. You see, ladies and gentlemen, sin is ignorance of the road that we're supposed to be on. Oh my goodness. Sin is not knowing why you are called to certain things. Sin is not realizing that this is what I have to do. It may not be one thing, it might be several things that are going to build people, lift people, encourage people. But if you make a mistake, go down the wrong road, and you start believing, if I tear down people in order for me to be important, I step on people in order for me to be big. I take money from people in order for me to be a big shot and for me to have it all. In other words, I don't want to share. In other words, I want it all. I don't want to just give them a little bit. I want it all. You ever run into people like that? Hit that comment button, say, yeah, I've run into those kind of people. We're seeing it now. And they turn their purposes into what they want. The laws of love, the laws of peace, the laws of sharing with one another, the laws of being able to have a debate and to make some sense. What's wrong with folk now? Sin is losing your sense of purpose, your sense of direction. You said, but you can live free from sin. Of course you can. All you got to do is get on your road of purpose. Once you get on your road of purpose, guess what? You're no longer missing the mark. You're no longer having a mistake. You're on target. Now, I said you can live free from sin. I didn't say you can live free from mistakes. There's going to come times you're going to make a lot of those. But it's not the mistakes that take you to hell. And if you were thinking about a hell somewhere later on down the line, 15, 20, 35 years ago, when you close your eyes and wake up in hell, hey, you might wake up in hell. I don't know where hell is, but I can promise you this. You keep taking the wrong roads and hitting the wrong mistakes, you keep going that direction, you're going to find yourself in a hell every day of your life. You'll be smiling, you may have money in your pocket, but hey, believe me, there's going to be some hell going on the inside. And that hell can almost, in a sense, not only take your mental or spiritual, it can take your natural life. Look, I'm running out of my time and I got to go. But what I'm telling you, yes, you fell down, but now you can get back up. Once you discover your purpose, when you get back up, you come out of the sin. And when you follow your purpose, that's all you're going to want to do. And when you into that, listen, you wake up and find yourself living your purpose every day. You ain't worried about all them sins that they telling you committed. You gotta find your own life, discover your own God, and get back on the right track. Come on, you can do this. Yeah. The word this year is bold. I talk to people and they say, you know what, Dr. Ed, I meet a lot of people who say, I'm an educated person, but they talk to me and tell me, you keep flaunting your education, keep using all those big words. Or a person may say they don't like the way I talk, or they don't like the way I look, or they don't like the way I dress. Or, just a lot of things that people will tell other people what they don't like about them. But you know what I'm going to say to you? Sometimes you got to get to a place in your life that you got to get bold about who you are. Now, that doesn't mean you don't make changes. Hey, check an image consultant out. Hey, go online, see what the latest fashions are. Leaf through a magazine. Check some things out. Learn how to talk about things. Take some voice lessons. Do whatever you want to. Make some changes this year. But once you make those changes, let it be you that makes those changes. And once you're satisfied with you, then be the most extraordinary you can ever be. That's what I'm teaching on all this year, is talking about the extraordinary I, the power of that true I of who you are. So take a moment and emphasize it, because giving makes a difference. When you connect your giving with who you are, it reinforces the power of who you are. That's right. It's not just saying, oh, I'm a nice person. You got to give something. When you give something away, whether it's a smile, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a pat on the back, it reinforces it. I want you to take a moment, make a contribution to what we're doing. I don't know what the amount is that's in your mind, but choose one. Might be $8, might be $10, whatever it is. Do it now. You can do it on your text to give 713-742-2035. But whatever you do it now, right now. We would be so eternally grateful, and it would make me happy. Thank you so much. I appreciate exactly everything that you're doing. Be bold. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash it, crash it. Let us know you're there.